Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Inside 11, man. And right now we want to get into this topic of who you are, right? Who you are being in the external world, right? Is an expression of a subconsciously embedded awareness, right? Meaning that the person that you are being right now externally with people, places, and things, how you deal with circumstances and situations, and how you are in your internal world is all a result of a subconsciously embedded awareness that we go to that create offspring thoughts and feelings that we live by. So until we deal with that subconsciously embedded awareness, we're never going to change, because it's not the external world that's your problem. Your subconscious pattern that creates a trajectory for you to go down upon, that's the real problem. And when you deal with a problem within, you effectively neutralize any problem going on outside of you, because there was never a problem outside of you. It was always what you was identifying with inside of you that allowed that problem to be created externally, right? So who you are is an expression of a subconsciously embedded awareness, right? Who we are is a mind, right? A mind is just a space. It's just a mechanism of calculating. But there's a pre-calculation in there that we're going to get into that creates either a negative reality or a positive reality, right? So who we are is a mind. You're just a mind, a spirit in a mind. A mind is a programmed vehicle, soul, with a pre-programmed trajectory, travel internally, that becomes an external process that we do, right? So we are a pre-programmed space of awareness with a subconsciously embedded trajectory of travel based upon what we are subconsciously programmed to be aware of, right? A lot of people don't check their subconscious beliefs, because what you believe is what's gonna bleed into your life. So if you're not constantly checking yourself as far as the awareness that you're, creating your reality from, if you leave that unchecked, it's gonna create a spiral of offsprings, thoughts, and feelings. That's gonna be your psyche, right? It's gonna be your psychological makeup, and that's gonna be your external process, or what you do outwardly, or who you be in those circumstances and situations. But it's always based upon an internal trajectory, right? Because let's say someone outside of you is expressing fear, expressing that you gotta be worried, that you gotta identify with this feeling, some type of terror, some type of like tyrannical, someone with a tyrannical mindset that express anger all the time so you can yield to them and shit like that, right? Well, if you don't identify with fear inside of you, you're not gonna be subjected to that outside of you, because you first have to accept it, then you can implement the type of shit, you know what I'm saying? So if you're not subject to it internally, you're not gonna adhere to it externally type of shit, you know what I'm saying? So when someone is trying to gaslight you, you're not gonna let yourself be infiltrated with their thoughts and feelings, because you don't identify with being subservient. You don't identify with, some weak ass shit that puts you in a subservient position. It's like that type of shit that we're dealing with, right? So now let me repeat that again, right? Because that's important. So we are a pre-programmed space of awareness, meaning that you've already been pre-programmed. You've already got a trajectory. You've already got a direction subconsciously, whether you know it or not, right? With a subconsciously embedded trajectory of travel based upon what we're subconsciously programmed to be aware of. So now that reoccurring awareness that we may be subconsciously unaware of is a light, an awareness, a consciousness that we are gravitating towards due to the attachment, synergy that our spirit may have developed with that awareness, leading to trajectories internally, aka familiar wirings, right? Man, I'm just, my bad, I'm just kind of sick a little bit, so I'm kind of recovering and shit like that. But yeah, there's a particular light. So when we talk about light from an esoteric perspective, it's just an awareness. It's your spirit going into a form of consciousness, but that shape and form is just an awareness that our spirit, that our observer, we keep being aware of that. So when we keep reviving that, we're reanimating that, we're giving life to something that was supposed to be dead and gone. Meaning that you could have experienced a trauma when you was younger, but you creating the space inside of you for you to continuously be aware of that by giving, your spirit a form of permission to go down that trajectory so you can re-experience that inside of you, is leading to a lot of shit going on externally. So people identify with their victimhood, people identify with their trauma, so they stay bounded in a limited form and stuff like that, right? And that trauma can be something that's not necessarily good for manifesting a positive life outwardly, right? So whatever you're identifying within internally, right, you might be giving your awareness to that reoccurringly, and you might be so attached to it that you think that that's normal, but that's just what became normalized. You ever hear how, what's it called, man, learned helplessness? A lot of people learn to be helpless in their situation, not because they're not actually able to, you know, evolve or overcome or, you know, meet the challenge and shit like that. They really stay where they're at because at some point in their life, they have learned helplessness. So they create behaviors and habits of being helpless when it comes to changing their life. So a lot of people have learned helplessness problems, not actually, you know, something not being possible. It's just them limiting themselves by going within themselves and catering to that subconsciously embedded awareness. And that subconsciously embedded awareness is probably something that's limiting them from actually living the life that they want to live outwardly, right? Because they're still living something within internally. They're still reigniting, reliving, reviving those old experiences. So you're bringing something from the past that was dead and gone into the present moment. You know, you may have like an oppressive mother and father that were like tyrannical and shit like that. You might jump it back into those memories and reignite and relive those traumas and stuff like that, causing you to, you know, still behave like that in the present and shit like that, right? So it's just about having trajectory and understanding what are you being subconsciously aware of. Because if you keep giving your energy to that, that's going to be a shape and a form that you're going to carry with you, and it might very well enable you or create some form of habit that becomes a dysfunction for you. But it's truly just a form of self-sabotage at the end of the day. So somebody that's creating an excuse based upon their subconsciously embedded awareness unknowingly to, you know, not do new things and shit like that, right? So whoever we are being outwardly is always coming from a space that we resonate with internally, right? So external habits and behaviors are always a result of something going on internal. So who you are being are always offsprings of our most dominant, subconsciously programmed awareness. So whatever we're observing, we make outwardly and manifest as such. So whatever observations we make outwardly and manifest as situations and circumstances are always the result of an internal awareness that we're still catering to in some way, shape, or form, right? So for example, right, I had a motherfucker today that was, you know, telling me about everything, why everything is wrong, why motherfuckers is dumb, why, you know, just being angry and pissed off about everything, right? But the situation at hand didn't require him to be angry and pissed off. But I guarantee you, internally, inside of him, subconsciously, he was embedded in some form of awareness that created an external outlook, you know, that was negative, that had nothing to do with the situation, right? Because life is just life in front of us, but we clutter what's in front of us with what's on our subconscious, what's on our memories, what's on our unawareness and shit like that, right? So that's just an example. Because he didn't have to be in that awareness. He could have just dealt with the situation in front of him. My bad. He could have just dealt with the situation in front of him from a much clearer space. But he allowed some subconsciously embedded awareness in him to take hold of his conscious reality, and he was living through that. So I was talking to this dude, and I was getting some hard logic. So then the dude could do nothing but just get angry. So I was giving this dude some hard logic, hard facts, and this dude just got angry and angry and angry. So I'm just like, okay, like whatever, what the fuck? This dude is lost in something internally, right? And shit like that. Right? So yeah, so we don't take actions. This is the problem, right here. We don't take actions based on clarity. We take actions based on a subconsciously embedded frame of reference, aka a subconsciously embedded form of awareness, and that could be a mix of different things, right? Meaning we don't view or have a perspective that is clear we are filtering it with the clutter, with the clutter of pre-selected and pre-accepted subconscious awareness, right? For example, right, like if like a Muslim, in his mind, they already believe that Allah is God. They believe Muhammad is the messenger and it can't be no other way. So they're going to perceive reality that way. So even if you come to them with some form of wisdom, they're always going to bring up the Quran and stuff like that. So they can't talk to you from a space of clarity. They got to be in some form of clutter of logic of what they're told, about, right? So that's what I'm saying. People don't view reality clearly. People view reality from some frame of reference of information, of some type of subconscious material that they're lost into, that they play out outwardly and stuff like that, right? So a lot of the times, you just sit back and let people talk. Sit back and let people express whatever that they're expressing, because they will tell you what subconscious awareness they're embedded into, knowingly or unknowingly, right? So yeah, that's just a quick tip right there. So, you know, I like how Nas said it, right? Because Nas said in one of his verses, you know, life becomes clearer when you wipe down on your mirror and stuff like that, right? Because we all got eyes. We can all see shit, right? But when our mind and when our subconscious, when our, you know, mind itself is cluttered with all these subconscious materials, all these different shapes and forms that have nothing to do with the present moment, and it's something that we keep reigniting, reliving from a past circumstance situation, whether it's you know, a feeling that we went to, whether it's some type of trauma, you know, whether it's some type of passion, some motivation that didn't go our way in the past when we was kids or some shit like that. You gotta remember that when you still have that on your mind in some way, shape, or form, and you don't clear that out energetically and shit, that's gonna be some form of clutter that's gonna prevent you from seeing clearly. So, you know, that's like being a focus engineer, but that's like engineering your focus, but not knowing what or who engineered your focus type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you can engineer your focus for the right things, but if you engineer your focus, your tunneled vision on a trauma or some shit like that, because you're not subconsciously aware of what programs are running behind closed doors, right? You're going to be running towards the wrong shit. Not running towards the wrong shit, but you're not going to be filtering out shit clearly. So motherfuckers might look at you like, is this person lost in his mind? Your manager might be like, hey, is everything okay at home? Yeah, is the family okay? Yeah. Did your girlfriend break up with you? It's shit like that, because it's like, a motherfucker might not be seeing shit clearly. And it's like, when you get into the filter of the mind and shit like that, you got people filtering information with their mind, and you're dealing with other minds and shit like that. You got to make sure you're coming from a space of clarity. Because when everyone around you is already mentally cluttered, subconsciously embedded and lost in their trauma and shit like that, man, when you're a big spirit, you got to be aware of all the programs going on around you and shit like that. Because someone else might try to subconsciously sabotage you, not knowing what they're doing, that they're just stuck themselves and they're not coming from a space of clarity and stuff like that, right? So you really got to be aware enough to look at everyone around you like everyone is in some form of a mind, and everyone is operating from some form of subconsciously embedded awareness, and you got to be aware of what form they're in, because they're going to play it out anyways. You just got to discern that shit and see, okay, is that some shit that I want to align with, or is that some shit that I got to move away from? 99% of the time, it's going to be some shit that you want to move away from and shit, right? So yeah, it's like, think about the purpose of a wiper on your car, right? Like, you wipe down your mirrors and shit like that because you want to be able to see clearly. If you don't see clearly, you might come up with the wrong trajectory, make the wrong decision. You might hit somebody. You got to have a clear view and shit like that, right? You got to be able to view things clearly and shit like that, right? So always make sure you're doing your shadow work so you can keep up that maintenance, because that's the thing though, right? Depending on how much time and awareness and energies was expressed that was negatively towards you, and you spent time in that and shit like that, and your psyche is a cycle. So your psyche is in a cycle and shit like that, right? So you got to be careful where you put your psyche in what cycle. You don't want to use your mind for some negative past calculation and recreate that in the present. Let's say, for example, you're a girl, right? And your man cheated on you multiple times, blah, blah. Okay, now those are experiences that are subconsciously embedded in your subconscious as traumas and shit like that, right? So now every dude you look at, you're dating, you're going to be looking at them like, yeah, he going to cheat on me. Yeah, he going to be cheating on me. That's why you get the memes of like these girls sleeping with their man and thinking like, oh, I wonder what he's doing type of shit. Because they think like, oh, he's going to cheat on them. Because that girl that's been cheated on all the time is going to be thinking about that, right? She's going to be, in fact, I'm going to tell you right now. In fact, she's going to be she's going to be telling her man to cheat on her. I guarantee it, yo. Now, it's not because she wants to, it's because she's subconsciously embedded in some form of awareness that says, I'm not good enough, or some next shit. I don't know. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're in a relationship, can nobody cheat on you unless you tell them? Because, in fact, men and women give their partner permission before they fucking cheat. They just don't know that's what they're doing, though. And then they get mad and upset when their partner do cheat. Because they already told you they will. You just wasn't listening, though. That's the thing. But that's not even for this topic type of shit, right? So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that you gotta operate from a space of. My bad, y'all, man. I'd be sick, man. I've been like spitting out mucus nonstop and shit like that. Anyways, fuck. Yeah, so it's like so think about your car. You use your wipers. It's all for the purpose of establishing clarity. So make sure you do your shadow work so you can maintain your level of clarity. This way you don't have no thoughts and feelings, no subconscious pattern sneaking on you and reprogramming you to cater to it, right? Because you're not going to have a clear trajectory that way, because you're already going to be programmed to have a trajectory, right? And you want to have a clear trajectory for your everyday decision making. This way you're not calculating things from a cluttered mind space. And experience is good, because experience is the best teacher in life. But at the end of the day, though, you know, you never know what's going to happen, right? In this all possible space. But within all this possible space of reality, you know, God and shit like that, there's a bunch of limited spirits entrapped in their awareness and shit like that may not be able to get out. So you want to be able to be aware of that as well. So who you are being outwardly is always a result of an attachment to subconscious materials and awareness that we unknowingly refuse to change. This may lead to an experience of perceived limitations, insecurities, inabilities, or past references of things not going your way, a trauma that we live by. You know, it's like basically, it's like adhering to that subconsciously embedded awareness. It's like swearing an oath on a subconscious level to operate from a space of being damaged, right? So you want to make sure you're not signing no contracts, you're not signing no oaths with no, goddammit, negative states of being, negative states of mind, traumas, shit that we subconsciously resonate with and we give our awareness to. And, you know, we give it energy and we revive it, relive it, make it more than what it is. It's just a dead thought, a dead feeling from the past. But if we keep reigniting it, then, hey, you're going to bring it to the present and it's going to feel like as if you're in that past situation. Because you're going to be inducing your chemicals within your body to create that same particular type of flow. So you might think that you are that flow, but it's because we keep giving our awareness to a subconsciously embedded, you know, awareness and shit like that, that we keep jumping into as a space to make up our trajectories about, you know, how we should live our life and shit like that, right? With that being said, man, that's all for today's video. We'll be back with y'all motherfucking tomorrow. Better believe it. Real shit.